The Unbelievable Truth is a BBC radio panel game where 4 comedians take turns to hide true statements amongst a plethora of lies. Why did one listener re-edit every episode so that the order of the comedians was swapped around? I'll say it again. The Unbelievable Truth is a BBC radio panel game where 4 comedians take turns to hide true statements amongst a plethora of lies. Why did one listener re-edit every episode so that the order of comedians was swapped around?
Odd. I've heard 1 or 2 episodes of this show.
There are some similarities with this, whereas there's a lot of fake information, then occasionally some truth falls in. But it's a different game.
I mean, there are a lot of British panel shows, including one that I've run in the past, where it's basically just lying about things and working out which is true. We had Call My Bluff. We have Would I Lie to You? We've got a lot of these.
So why would the order of who's speaking be interesting?
Yeah, outside of them just doing it as their own fun little thing, like reordering every episode in the order of most lies to fewest lies, or just, no, I want to see these people in alphabetical order now. I can't think of
that is a gag on Taskmaster. If you ever watch Taskmaster, in pretty much every version of it around the world, the comedians on the panel will be seated in alphabetical order. Mm-hmm. And that is just a little thing that got put in at some point and became a rule. It's the kind of nerdy detail you'd expect.
Yeah. And now people do in-depth analysis of which seat is most likely to win, and so how likely you are to win based on the first letter of your name.
Well, actually, is it something like that? Are you more likely to win that show if you go first or go second? But even if that's the case, why would you do an edit to reverse that? You said reverse, not randomise, right?
It says re-edit, so the comedians were swapped around, is what it says.
So it could be swapped in any way,
Yeah.
not necessarily reversed. Because, yeah, that was my first thought as well, was for some reason someone who's like, no, the integrity of this game is ruined by the fact that to keep listener engagement, they always put like this thing for the last person, and the first person always. And so to make it truly random, I'm going to mess them around so people won't know what's coming.
There was someone on the Australian version of The Traitors who got cut out of the show for metagaming too much. Like
fun.
He's visible in the wide shots. I mean, I haven't seen this. If the details on this are wrong, I'm getting this secondhand. But like he's visible in the wide shots. He's introduced a couple of times. He doesn't really say much. He just gets eliminated at one point, and no one really mentions or cares about him in the edit. And it turns out that's because it was season 1. He'd worked out how the game works, and he kept saying things like, "Oh well, those 2 came down to breakfast last, so the producers clearly want us to think this. So that means they're safe and they're not traitors." And it just kind of... It was really useful information for him, but just ruined the show for all the viewers.
Yeah. So you got to keep to yourself.
Well, he didn't...
That's like when the casino kicks you out for counting cards.
Right.
It's like, I'm just playing the game. I'm following the rules. Yeah, but you're too good. Get out of here.
So because he didn't win and he didn't really actually affect the game all that much, they just kind of dropped him from most of the episodes.
I suppose I would believe that some diehard fan would have figured out the metagame and tried to rearrange things so that it didn't work anymore, so that they could still feel the thrill.
Well, there's plenty of shows that have that problem. Like if you are 27 minutes into a 30-minute show and they're just starting a game, they're probably not going to win it. They've probably just been dropped in there to, probably going to crash out early.
Yeah.
So with the ordering, instead of being comedian 1, 2, 3, 4, the new order was 3, 4, 1, 2.
3, 4, 1, 2. That doesn't even make pie.
Doesn't even make pie.
This is very intentional.
So basically, 3, 4, 1, 2 basically just means they took the latter half and they made it the first half. They want the end to be the start and the start to be the end, which is odd. And they did it because... Tom, you take it away.
I don't know. Dani's the one who's seen some episodes of it.
Were they colorblind? No.
All right, I'm gonna set a scene here. Was there someone else involved with this? Like, was the listener editing it and then playing this to someone else?
No, quite the opposite. So they were a genuine fan of the show and they were doing it for their own reasons.
Because I was thinking that it might be those people who watch a game show while their partner is not around, so they know the answers in advance and can pretend to be clever. And there was some trick in doing that no, okay, never mind.
No. I've also got another, like I've got all these ideas that don't seem to hold up to scrutiny. Like it's aired at different times when you cross like somewhere, and they started listening to it, and they knew that when they crossed over, they'd get to the next part, like it would be restarting. So it's like, well, I want to listen to 3 and 4 first, and by the time on my regular drive I cross over into Wales, they're airing it later, and now they'll be on 1 and 2. So that's what I'll hear when I get across the border on my regular truck drive. But that wouldn't really make that much sense either, because they would have already had the capacity to listen to the whole thing.
The timing of the listening to the episodes is key.
It's key.
Oh.
How is the show distributed? Is this a radio show? Is this a podcast? Like,
Radio show and podcast.
It is a radio show.
So the way the show works is, each of the comedians is kind of a standalone piece.
I don't know. I think this person's just quirky.
It is a quirky character.
Yeah, this is a quirky person. That's it.
Now, the episodes of the show, they are fairly long, is something to note, which is part of it.
Do they always save the best guests for last? And this person's just like, look, I'm going to fall asleep by the end. So why don't I get the best guests first, and then the other 2 while I'm falling asleep, because I listen to podcasts when I go to bed, or I download this and I listen to it when I fall asleep. And so they were like, first 2, boring, it's always the same people. That's always there. They build up to the good ones.
You are so close, my friend. It is about listening while falling asleep. Finish it off.
There are plenty of shows that will reorder the questions, the players, even the episodes in a season to move things around and make the dramatic arc better, or just put the good ones first so people keep listening.
Mate, you're really close to there. The reason is that they like to listen when they fall asleep when they go to bed. So, yeah.
So they listen to the last 2, not just because they're the best, but because the first 2 are always the same hosts and they're one of the first 2 and they don't want to listen to themselves.
Or it gives them 2 versions to listen to. No, because you could just put... Are they uncertain of when they fell asleep and then they have to listen to the other episode the next day? Like the edited one is there so they can hear the bits that they missed the previous night?
Spot on. That's exactly right. They listen to the show. They hear comedian 1. They hear comedian 2. Somewhere along the way, they fall asleep. They try again the next day. They fall asleep at the same point. So they get to listen to all the show again and catch up with the ones that they're normally asleep by.
Interesting.
Oh,
I should try
fantastic.
that with a couple of movies. I've got a couple of movies where I always fall asleep at the same point. Deep Impact, I'm so sorry.
Try Memento for that. That'll work well.
So yeah, broadly, let's give you two listings to the show. They only standalone, but the only downside is some of the callback jokes don't quite work. So give yourself a high five if you've done that to this show right now.
Yeah.
The Lateral book is now available for pre-order. Just click on the link to get all the details.